Hello, 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 hello. Part 8 incoming. We're going to finish texturing, well, maybe hopefully finish texturing the house. So again, let's not muck around. So what I left you with last time was that nothing's changed. And that's because, as I said, we were looking at this and it was looking very flat. And then I Control-Shift clicked the principal BSDF, which as you see is the end of the chain, but it's only the color from the brick node going into the principal BSDF. We want this, the mixture of these two textures with the mask to go into there. So if we just nip that into there, we start to see the color, but we're also still seeing the bump in the areas where this color is, and then I want that to look kind of like an erosion effect. I want which means we also need to separate the bump as well as separating these two colors. At the moment we're not separating the bump. The only bump information that's going into there is the bricks, so we need another bump to do something different than the bricks so that we can separate them. So to do that, we're just going to select our noise. In fact, select both, Shift select both of the noise and the color ramp and Shift D. Drag that, just put it underneath for now. And then on the color ramp, just click Reset Color Ramp. And this, Control-Shift click that. Oh, my thing's not on again. I always forget, so sorry. So Control-Shift click this, and this is the noise, and we are just going to increase the black just so we can see a bit more detail. I'm also going to head into viewport shading mode, and I just want to bring that up. Okay, and then I'm going to ramp the scale right up, son, right up, like that. And I'm also going to I'm going to select, take the UV output and also select that, which means I might scale that up some more. Okay, so that's the rough bump. If we was just, little tip in the shader editor, I know it looks complicated, but you get the gist. Over a wire, if you shift and right click and drag, you cut a line, but you get a new node. Pip, I don't know really what they're called. The reason I've done that is because I'm going to take the output of this new bump that we've just made, this one, and I'm just going to show you what that does to the bump by plugging it into height. And if you Control-Shift click the principal BSDF, now it's the only bump. And actually, because it's inverted, I don't know if I want that inverted. If you want to invert this, so because we've inverted the bump for the brick, which we need it to remain inverted, we can just simply, because I want this to go the other way, I want these areas to be sticking out. It's probably not going to make any difference, actually, thinking about it. Even if I flip color ramp, it's made no difference. That's a ridiculous idea. Ignore me. Okay, so but this is our second bump. So we've got the bump coming from the from the brick texture, and now we've got this bump. And because I don't want perfectly flat areas, I need to take down the darks, because you see when I take that down, if I took it right down, but as you see when I'm separating the color, I'm creating less contrast between these two. So I think, yeah, that might work nicely. Alright, son. Okay, so now we need to separate these two, and we need to separate them with the same mask. This mask that's separating the brick texture and the noise texture, I would like to use that to separate these, the bump from the brick texture and the new noise texture. I hope I'm making sense. So we need another mixed color. I'm just going to move the bump out of the way. So this mixed color, Shift D, drag it down to here. And then we want because we put a pip here, I know that's the brick texture factor for the bump. So I'm going to put that in A. That's the bump for the bricks in A. And then if you select this and press Control X, it will go without cutting the wire. If you just press X, it will cut the wire. And then we're going to take the and control right click, cut the wire, because we don't want that going directly into the bump. We need it being separated in this first. And because this is the mask that's separating these two, we'll use the same one to separate these two. So that's plugged into the factor. So if I control shift click this now, we'll see what's happened. In the areas where the noise is, there's no brick. There's no brick bump. So all we need to do is plug that into the height, and then we control shift click the principal BSDF to see all the material. It's going to take a little bit longer. This is the thing, yeah. But you know, there we go. I like that. What's that? 6 minutes. Cool. So that's the problem with Eevee and the viewport shading mode is the more complex a shader gets, you can see it's starting to slow down when there's really not much going on in the scene. In cycles it'll be fine, but it's, you know, it's got to render. So yeah, it's going to get to the point where it feels like it's at the point where this is too much for viewport shading and it's too much for Eevee. So we'll go back to cycles. And we've got 3 minutes. So there are issues with this texture which we will fix soon, like this bowing that's happening here. I saw some of this here, but we're going to fix that. So I'm going to go back to this, and now we are just going to separate the roofs so that we can apply a texture to those and separate it. So if you control click this loop, and because we put a bunch of loop cuts in, we need to make sure that we're selecting all the loops that we've made. And then I'm just going to press C and just select all these. And C and press to get all of these. I think I've missed some, and I overshot the mark there. The reason that we've got this weird shape that's not quite showing that we've selected them is because of the sub div. If you turn that off, we can clearly see what we're selecting. I didn't think I actually wanted the outside, but never mind. Okay, so we're going to take that roof. We're not going to take these outside. They need to be a different color, so ignore it. We're not going to get that outside loop. I just want the very tops of the roofs. Would it be easier to do this in 7? Yep. So I'll just go into above view, top view, press 5 for isometric, so we're definitely looking from above, and then we can just willy-nilly do this and just, yeah, and then check it. By the way, if you press C and you've got this thing, you can't move the camera unless you right click. Okay, so that is the tops selected. I think that's everything I want. Yep. And then we are just going to, as you remember, to get a new material, click the plus, and then click the material 1, which we're going to call bricks, and then material 1 assign, so we know that's a sign there, and then just click the new material. So we're going to turn this bricks into a new material with that button and type roof. And then if we head back over, nothing would have changed. But if we change some colors here, let's make them all darker. We're changing the roof, but we're not changing the rest. And just before we finish for this episode, I'm going to scale that up to 15. There we go. It's probably not enough. Okay, cool. Good time's finished. We'll reconvene in the next episode. Until then, I will see thee. Farewell.